Portugal here. We have Lucia
Hello,
from
everybody. Hello.
Wonderful. And we have Heidi, hello from Norway. We have Valeria saying ciao dall'Italia. Anne saying hi from Warwick, the UK. Joy saying hello from Leeds, the UK. And Tayete, I'm in Spain, by the way. Wonderful. So we have Spain represented as well.
Who
We
is in Spain? Who is in Spain? You are in Spain.
Not me. Tayete.
I'm in Spain too, in Madrid.
Are you?
Yes.
Wonderful. Ah, I bet it's warm there.
No.
We have hellos from Malta, from North Carolina, the Netherlands, Colorado, Bright Nords, Montreal from Cindy, Toronto from Raddy, Jette says hello from Denmark, Paula says hello from Belgium. We have also Juan from España and Suchi Smitanath from India. We have more people from all over the world almost. We have people from Europe, the US, Scotland, New Jersey, Czech, Indiana, Moscow, Michigan, Quebec, Sofia, wonderful, Hungary, Brazil. It's wonderful. And of course, we have a wonderful Anna Ivanova here. And you are tuning in from Madrid, Anna.
Yes, I'm in Madrid for already 1 month passed, but I have 1 month and a half too. I'm here for hunting my subject for Las Ferias de Abril y de Jerez de la Frontera. It's national festivals with very beautiful people in national dresses, and I will say a lot of them, and a lot of horses. Very pure blood.
You're
So I'm eager to see.
subject hunting.
Yeah, subject hunting. Yes, that's right. And actually, the girl that we are going to paint today, it's a little Seriana, a little girl from the really so beautiful Spanish city, Sevilla. It's a heart of Andalusia.
Thank you for telling us a bit of the backstory. Wonderful. So let's dive in because we have, as you can see on Anna's screen, we have a wonderful painting to observe. It might be hard to follow if you have not done the sketching, but you will see her wonderful technique, and it's like a magic trick because she's so fast, she's so proficient, she is so, yeah, advanced.
Ah, you flatter me.
And at the same time, I promise you, you can learn it too. It's amazing. So, this is a watercolor online workshop where we're going to focus on portraits and some amazing techniques to achieve realism, guided by Anna Ivanova, who you can see here has an amazing skill at capturing realism and a sense of life in her paintings. So before we dive in, let me introduce the workshop and also Anna. First and foremost, the workshop will last for about 1.5 to 2 hours. We never know exactly how long in advance. And make sure to use the chat, ask your questions and share your insights and highlights so that we support each other. And I will do my best to keep an eye out for questions and ask some of them along the way. We also have a dedicated Q&A spot at the very end. If this is your first time with us, be prepared to just watch and observe because it can be very hard to watch Anna and your own painting at the same time. Remember, you can always go back and try this again. And we have lots of hellos in the chat, but we also have another question for those of you who are here. What is your current experience and the current level of watercolor painting? Would you say that you are a number 1, so a beginner, or a number 0, you've never tried it, or a number 10, professional, or something in between? Many people are something in between, so please share your level so that we know that, and perhaps Anna can tailor her teaching a little bit to those of you who are here. And I read so many wonderful, amazing hellos in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you,
for sharing
everybody.
all of
Hello.
your
Hello
hellos.
one more time.
And so today we will discover essential tips and tricks for achieving realism in watercolor and also begin painting a child portrait. And we will observe how Anna works her way through this her wonderful technique, and also continue painting your portrait, focusing on adding fine details and enhancing contrasts. We will also identify and fix common portrait painting mistakes to ensure that your painting looks more professional. We will also present Anna Ivanova's course Watercolor Portraits from Basics to Advanced. And at the very end, we have a Q&A session where you can ask those questions that popped up and that have not been answered at the end. So now let me introduce you to wonderful Anna. She's a winner at prestigious international competitions. Here you have some examples of that. She's also a participant of various national and international exhibitions. You can see some examples of that here. And she's also an instructor of masterclasses both in Europe as well as in Asia. And here are some examples of your artworks, Anna, where we can see how you use this technique that looks so advanced. There's so many different values, so many different colors. And we have one wonderful vibrant scene of two ladies sitting in the sunshine, and there's so many colors. There's such vibrancy in this painting. What would you say is important to achieve that sense of freshness all throughout the painting process?
Of course, the thing is that I use wet on wet technique, and it helps me a lot to create really some realistic subjects, realistic portraits. And at the same time, this technique helps to keep it really fresh, because usually I paint only in one layer. Of course, I have quite a lot of years of experience, but I can show you how to work with this technique, what possibilities this technique has, because it has a really wide range of possibilities. That's why, because previously, 10 years ago, I painted another technique, layer by layer. And I can say that, of course, all techniques can give a lot of possibilities. But for me, wet on wet and painting in one layer is so amazing. So I can feel a lot of courage to paint it, because it's always unpredictable at the same time. But
do you feel alive?
Yeah, if you want to, let's say, if you want to have stress, welcome. Use the wet technique.
Yes, because it's timing.
Yeah. It's always like, but at the same time, for example, today we are going to paint such a fresh colors of the child face, or the sunny flower that is so filled with the sun and with the red colors. And to make it so fresh and so saturated, it's better to use the technique of one layer, because some colors can be used just once, for example, red ones. And I will show you how to do it.
Wonderful. I have one more question before we continue, and that is, what is it about portraits that make you drawn to them? Because you love painting humans, you do that a lot. That is one of those things that you return to again and again and again. What would you say is special about specifically watercolor portraits, in your opinion?
People inspire me. That's just great inspiration, especially something very authentic, like national holidays, like Feria de Abril, or some national holidays in Russia as well, that I do so much, because I like aesthetics of 19th century or beginning of 20s. And I don't know, that's something really beautiful in the dresses, because people really change their self when they dress themselves like this. And for me, it's something like pictures of Sorolla or Degas or Monet, Serov, or and also this art is a great source of inspiration altogether, and live people and old art, classic one, and watercolor. And for me, it's like adventure every time. I don't know, people are amazing.
Thank you for sharing that, your perspective and your passion for this subject. And let me just watch the chat, because lots of people have shared what level they feel that they're at. We have people who are at the 1, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 5, 5, 8, 6, 3, 1, 5, 7, 8, 6, 5. As we can see, 2, 2, 6, 4, 7, 8. So we have everything from 1 to 8.
Oh,
Wonderful.
wow. So
So
a
we
lot
have,
of different levels.
yes, lots of different levels. And for everyone, it's going to be a fascinating journey to take part of this, because, yeah, you get to watch someone who does this for a living, who really knows this. So whatever level you're at, make sure to use this as an inspiration. If you have already painted with Anna, please put a plus in the chat so we can welcome you back. And while you do that, those of you who have painted with her, let me share some other people's thoughts who have painted with her. We have a comment here. Great course, challenging but very fun. I've never painted a portrait and the instructions were very clear. It has been a pleasure to go through the exercises. And here we have another beautiful Marie Angie who says, I did my own painting. I was so afraid to do it all alone. But very interesting experience. Thanks a lot, Anna. And Catherine writing, it's fascinating to see how the paint moves and blends on the paper. So much skill on show. It was wonderful to watch. The class was educational, full of tips, techniques, color mixing instructions, and detail to make the subject shine. And Anna is one of our top experts at Artefacto School and has had over 1,500 students take her courses and learn different subjects from her: ballet, still life, portraits, horses, and today we're focusing on portraits. So you're in very good hands, those of you who are here. And we want to welcome lots of you back: Shiharu, Jackie, Gabriella, Alia, Ayla, Carrie, lots of people. Olga, Mayumi. Wonderful. Welcome back, Michelle. Okay. Here we have, yeah, as you can see, lots of people have learned from her already. And they have also been able to paint really beautiful paintings inspired by Anna and going through her teaching. And today we will open limited enrollment for Anna Ivanova's watercolor painting course. And those of you who are here live, you will have the best deal. If you're ready to gain insights from Anna, let's write it yes in the chat. We will start painting in 2 minutes. Before that, we're gonna just talk a bit about some tips to achieve realism in watercolor. Here we have some 4 different tips, Anna, and I will read them to you and you can give us your take on these things. The first one is creating a sense of volume by achieving depth of color. And the second one is capturing naturalistic hues and shades across a wide range. And then we have give your painting a realistic appearance by utilizing light and shadow. And then we have the fourth one, which is depicting textures skillfully, like smooth skin, clothing fabric, or soft hair. What are your thoughts on these tips? Or perhaps you have other tips that come to mind that are good to think about before we start painting.
I think actually all these 4 questions are about one very important thing, is about the rolling of the volumes. Because with the volumes, with the light and shadow, we can show everything. And I mean, for example, we can express the sunlight, some average light without sun, some artificial light. It depends on the just dark and light. But then, if we want, it's about the monochromical things. But then, when we want to show something like sunlight or moonlight, we add some colors. So now we work with warm colors or cold colors because they show the light we have. For example, if we would like to show some sunlight on the skin, of course we will, like today we are going to paint. So we will use a lot of warm colors such as oranges, some warm reds. But at the same time, the shadows will be blue or violet because it's also some kind of characteristic of the sunlight. And for example, if we paint some theater light, some artificial one, so it will be opposite thing because the light part will have cold tones and the shadows will have orange tones because they're always controversial. So if we have the light warm, so the shadow will be cold, and it always works. It works like a tone difference, and it works like a color difference, because with these things we can create and faces with a lot of volume, but at the same time we can make them very picturesque, because if we don't do them picturesque, they look quite graphics. Of course, they can exist both, but when the picture has it all, of course, it's like a masterpiece, and I'm going there.
Yes, what we see in your pictures, which I think is so inspirational, is that you also focus on reflected light a lot. And not just that it's light, but that it takes on the color of perhaps the dress or the background and
Yes,
things
reflections.
like that.
Yes, reflections are important,
Yeah.
but it's a part of academic drawing as well. And yes, it's also one of the most important parts of the realistic painting. So in all my courses I have this part about the drawing, and I always talk a lot about it because I think it's really important. It's like basics for all future realistic paintings.
So this is what we will paint today, and you, Anna, have already prepared a sketch. So for those who have not prepared a sketch, you can try the technique, but you will not be able to finish this piece. But we can also always finish this later. So I'm gonna disappear now, and I will be silent most of the time because whenever I speak, I will pop up, and I don't want to disturb. So I'm gonna hand it over to you now, Anna. And
No, look,
looking forward to the first.
if there is any questions, I can talk at the same time. So no problem. So yeah, because just to comment all colors, I think it's a bit boring, but to talk, to interact with the people, it will be much more funny. So, as I told before, I'm going to paint wet on wet technique. And my paper for today is 100% cotton. And it's very useful exactly for this technique because it can keep water quite long time. That's why I prefer cotton paper. And it's cold pressed, 300 grams, and the brand is Hanemühle Watercolor Collection, cold pressed. So now I'm going to wet backside. And I do my best to work quite fast because usually I don't work fast. I am slowly and I like details and so on and so on. But sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I can be fast.
We have a question here at the very go. Anna seems to wet the back of her paintings a lot before painting. Can you talk more about how to do that or when?
How to wet paper? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah. When do you why and when do you choose to wet the
Ah,
back of the paper?
I see. Because one thing is that I prefer to work on the flat surface. I don't like when it's wavy, because when I do some big washes, so the pigment comes down. Of course, it comes down when we have some wave, and I don't like it. Another thing that when paper is totally wet, it helps me to keep to keep my brush strokes fresh, because usually I work this way. I work with a big form. For example, now I'm going to paint whole face, I mean skin, and her neck all together, and only then I add some volumes, colors, details, and so on and so on. But the very important thing that the very first wash is still wet. So that's why I use only cotton paper, because it keeps this freshness quite long time. And another thing, I use only two paper, okay, maybe two or three brands that can let me work like this. It's Hahnemühle Watercolor Collection, Cézanne, and Sennelier. Because, for example, Arches or Saunders or Canson Heritage, of course, they are wonderful papers. But when I do my wash and then I try to add some details in this wet first wash, so I take it away, this first wash. So I destroy the first layer. That's why I prefer another paper, and that's why I prefer to wet paper from both sides. It's just helped me to work with my technique. That's all. Because if you, of course, you can work on the dry surface as well with this technique, but you need to work really fast. Because when you put your brush stroke, it's dry just maybe in 10 seconds. But when you wet totally all paper, so it can be wet for the whole paper, can be wet for maybe 1 hour, and the first wash can be wet maybe for 10 or 15 minutes. So you can change the tone, you can change the color, add details, and it's still one layer before it's dry. So the secret is like this. Now I'm using a lot of water to saturate my paper. And now I'm going to dry the area where I'm going to work. It will be the face. Of course, we can work on without drying this area, but as we have some really delicate details such as her eyes, eyebrows, the line on her nose, and so on. So it's better to have more control over the process, because when it's too dry like now, you can have a look, it's really shiny, so too much water. So everything will spread just, all over the paper. That's why I'm drying this place, just to have control over all process and to keep all my details on its places. But when I dry paper like this, it doesn't mean that I dry totally all paper. It's just this restricted area. The paper inside and backside is very wet. It's very important. So the backside of the paper should be always like this, shiny and saturated with water. And one thing more, when we paint something really bright with saturated shadow, like the picture we have for today, it's a quite struggling moment, because I begin to paint from the shadow and they will be super dark, super bright, very strange. But you need to remember that on the photo we have the background, we have all dark points such as her eyes and her hair. That's why the picture on the photo is equilibrated. Here we have just a white paper, nothing else. That's why we compare all our brush strokes with the white paper. So yes, this moment is quite struggling, but with the, due to experience, you will understand how it works. It will be really awful, like a zombie, till we paint the eyes and something else. So let's dance. And now I'm going to mix skin tone, but I'm searching for the color. That's why I'm going to mix a lot of them, and then I will choose some tone that can be appreciated. So let's begin from raw sienna. And as you can see, I work with quite big brushes. because I'm going to make the big area and to work quite fast because the colors are really dark and saturated. And I would like to finish all picture before the first layer is dry. Raw sienna, transparent pyro orange. And as always, I have some napkins to dry my brush to regulate the water in it. Opera. A bit of wisteria. This is Daniel Smith or Lilac of Xinhan. Xinhan is really cheaper, like 3 times cheaper than Daniel Smith. I like to use these opaque colors because they calm down so bright colors such as pyro orange. A bit of opera again. And now let's try to do not have heart attack. Just have a look at it. Yeah. Not bad. Yeah, and it's better to have the drawing quite, dark because now I'm going to cover all her face with this tone, so it's better to know where the eyes are or nose and so on. A bit of wisteria again. Again, raw sienna and opera. A bit of wisteria. More opera. And now it looks scary because the wet technique is too bright when it's wet and actually quite pale when it's dry. This is the minus. This is the minus of the technique and of this paper because it's quite raw. And my magic brush is coming. More sienna. A bit of wisteria. And a bit of blue-gray. And again, a bit of gray. I don't say the eyeballs and even the highlights there because the eyes are in the shadow. You can compare with the light parts of her forehead and you can see the difference. Now I'm going to make it a little bit softer. And let's continue to work. More sienna and a bit of blue-gray. Raw sienna, again, opera and a bit of scarlet. I think it looks really scary. Even there is a silence in the in the chat. Just wait.
Yeah, people have commented that you are so brave that they're impressed, and that it's a very good lesson to see how bold you are in the first with the first color. And other people might be used to using several layers before they dare that.
That's why I thought that the wet technique is really cool. I mean, because it can help you to create really saturated and so bright pictures at one layering quite fast. And when you afraid something, this technique is good. It's just you need to begin because you can't stop. Everything is running. It's like we have a joke about not only watercolor techniques, about the things when you need to begin and make it with a lot of braveness and to make it fast. And they say that uh, madness and courage is everything for us. But it's really fun. I like watercolor technique because in this way, it's yeah, in some kind it's unpredictable, but also I think the art, the the masterpieces of art, they were actually some mistakes, not usual ones. So I think it's cool to try, at least to try. That's why, some kind of madness helps. And at the same time, if you want to, how to say, to forget about your, I don't know, some problems at work or I don't know, whatever problems, just begin to work with this technique because you have no time to think about something else except the process because everything is running. anti-stress therapy. And now I'm trying to add some details. Like her eyebrows, eyelids. I don't save the lips because they are darker than the main tone of the skin. And actually, this color is a purple gray. And actually, when it's drying, you can see that it's changing its tone to much lighter one. And here we have a lot of reflexes from her clothes. That's why her face actually has this rose tone as well. Kind of expressionism.
We have a question from Valeri. What brush you are using? Is it a specific brush that you can find online?
No.
And if it's not, what should we look for in a brush so that it works for this technique?
Some you can use our natural, some Kolinsky brush. Actually, it's Kolinsky one, Chinese. But as you can see, I use it like a flat one. So you can use or imitation of squirrel or Kolinsky natural. Flat one like 13 millimeters, something like this. I think Skoda have something has like something like this, or a Da Vinci also. So with Chinese brushes, it's quite difficult question because there are huge amounts of them, and you need to try a lot of them to choose a special one because it's always unpredictable. For example, these brushes, I bought them many years ago, and now the quality is totally different, and I don't like it. That's why I don't recommend it. The quality of brushes such as Da Vinci or Rubloff or Skoda, they're they have some kind of stability, so it's not surprise. If you buy one good, it will be good for always, I think. But with these brushes, it's like always a surprise. And don't forget about the ears. I always forget about the ears and neck, and sometimes they look quite, cut. It's better to paint everything at the same time, but of course, if we are in hurry like me right now, so it's better to make it fast. Smile. And one very important thing about the child portrait is to make all emotions, all mimics on wet surface, because when you paint it too, how to say, too, so if the brush strokes are too hard, too obvious, they make too sharp, so they make the face look older, because usually children faces or the faces of young people, they're really round, very soft, and if we make it a bit more detailized or over detailized, so the a child gets older and older. That's why I do my best to paint it as soft as I can. And ears, of course. The combination of the colors is always the same. Rose sienna, opera of transparent pyro orange, and it depends if I want to have something more reddish, I use more opera. If I want to have some more orange, so I use more orange. And then I keep working with this area as well. Now I need to finish the neck. Otherwise, it will look like some, doll with artificial face, head. And now I'm going to switch on another dark brown. The name is Van Dyke Brown by Core. Or you can use some burnt sienna if you don't have exactly this Van Dyke Brown, because this one is special. That's why I use it. It has the reddish tint, and I really like it. Other Van Dykes, they have more greenish tint. And also we can work with her ears as well. And maybe some details of the eye, just to make some small sketch. Quick one. Is anybody painting right now with me?
Write in the chat if you are painting and have a minute to spare. And we have two questions that I think we could be using now.
Uh-huh.
We have one question from Zora here. Do you make the passage between light and shadow always soft, or is there an exception to this rule? Gabriella is
It
painting.
depends. It depends because, for example, here we have. It depends on the structure and on the form that I'm painting. For example, here one line is more strict because the form is like this, and her bottom of the nose is more round, so the shadow is softer. And for example, if I paint something like a building, so of course the corner between the light and shadow will be really cut. But here we have a really soft face and soft forms. That's why everything is really, really super soft. And another thing that when everything is painted quite soft, and if you do any mistakes, you can easily fix them later. This is another trick to paint really realistic paper portraits, because if you do mistakes in a very soft painting, you can fix wherever you painted or wherever you mistake you did, because it's much easier to fix it in the end.
We have a question. We have, first and foremost, we have lots of people who are painting, and also several people who have written, "I'm watching." Can't keep up. But we do have a question that I think that if you are a beginner and this is the first time watching this technique, it might be very confusing, because you have told us that you work wet into wet, but on the same at the same time you're using this paper to paint pretty small details. Sue is asking, how can you do this small detail when the paper is wet? Can you repeat your process a bit, so and that explains that everything doesn't just float around on the paper surface?
No, that's just a control of the wetness of my brush. That's why I always dry it. So if I need to paint something really delicate, some small detail, or I don't want to spread color too much, so I dry my brush, and that's all. If I want to make some big wash, so just take more water on your brush, and it will help you to create whatever you do.
And also, have you dried with a paper tissue all of the surface that you're painting now? Or
No, no, no.
no?
It's just drying by itself, but this is normal process for the paper. It's okay when it becomes drier and drier. Okay, let's begin with the eyes. And usually before I begin to paint the eyes, I do all form like an oops. Let's fix it. Okay, it can happen, but we can fix it. Big flat brushes are really helpful in in fixing all this mistake. Okay, it's not a mistake. It's just something that can happen. But if you are fast enough, so there is no problem.
We have a question from Laura. How dry was the brush that you used to soften the girl's face? So how dry is your brush when you're doing these things?
I don't know. I didn't measure it. It's not because if it's too dry, it doesn't hold the form. If it's too wet, so water is falling. So it's just a sense of the water there, just experience. I can't explain because I don't know. Now it's too much water. When it doesn't shine so much, so it's okay. I can use it again. Okay, let's paint the eyes. Another thing that when the brush is too wet, you can't make the color dark enough. So that's why I'm drying my brush again and again, because when I'm going to work with such dark hair like her eyes, and her eyes are really dark like a cherries, and a bit of alizarin also. This is too much water for now. Let's dry it a bit. And again, let's dry it a bit. And let's try. And if you feel that the brush is scratching the paper, doesn't make good brush strokes, so it's better to take more water. And usually I paint both eyes at the same time, because otherwise I can, then it's hard to find the right color. So it's better to make everything at the same time. I mean symmetrical organs like an eyes or eyebrows. And now I'm adding a bit of red with the alizarin and scarlet to make the inner parts of her eyelids, because they have a little bit another tone, not really brown. And actually, now you can see that if we compare her skin tone with her eyes, now we can see that the skin tone is not that dark. So that's why everything is dark or light only when we compare it with something. That's why I told that let's wait when something dark appears. So now we have some dark points, and we can keep on walking. And if I do some mistakes in the form or size, so I just collect that extra tone. And instead of black color, I use ultramarine and sepia. And now let's paint the eyebrows. But I don't paint it really dark initially because I prefer to make some sketch, because sometimes I don't see if my drawing, for example, or maybe I'm not sure in my drawing, so I prefer to make some really light one and then to continue to make it darker and to make the form more exact. And now we can add more tone.
We got a question how moist the paper surface is now. Like, is it moist enough for there to be a clear difference between what you're doing now compared to if you let the painting dry completely before doing the
It's almost dry. Usually I prefer it wet, but you know things. This technique is quite capricious because the paper dries too fast, so I need to work or faster or more accurate. So I do my best to continue to work at the same style, but okay, if I can't hold my way of usual work, I can add some layers more, but just to make all brushstrokes softer, just to create the imagination that I still work wet on wet. I do it right now actually, just to continue add layers because there is not enough. Just adding some points next to them. Again, opera, maybe for sienna. Yeah, the paper is dry, so okay. But this technique is always like this. So I continue to work like a few layers, but let's see how it works. So when everything is dry and I can't manage it, so I make a brush stroke and then I make it softer. And I'm going to add some lipstone using again opera, a bit of glycerin, opera, and transparent pale orange. And again, the first wash will cover all the lips, and then I'm going to add the tone difference there. Now let's make it a bit darker, a bit of scarlet and a bit of alizarin. And we need to show some mimics. Let's take a bit of raw sienna and a bit of blue gray. And now let's paint, no, I'm going to work a bit on her eye because I don't like the right one. And we can make the lips brighter because when the so bright color dries, it loses its brightness. And again, let's take a bit of raw sienna, a bit of opera, and alizarin.
We have received a question a couple of times, so I think we can ask it. It is, could you have re-wetted the back to keep the paper wet longer? Is that something that you ever do if it's needed, or would you dare that? Is that part of the toolbox that you use?
Backside, yes, but the thing is that I can't cover with the water this part because it's already too bright. When the tones are really bright and saturated, it means that the color is just on the surface of the paper, and this is a problem because usually it run away when you wet it.
So would you dare to go over the skin if you let it completely dry and we feel that it's not dark enough? Would you dare to go over with a second layer on this particular paper with the oil?
Yeah, second layer is possible, of course. And just a few mimics. I mean, for example, if I cover water with the water, the area of her irises, so this dark tone runs away. So that's why I prefer to finish everything, and then maybe I can cover this part or this part or this part with the water, and it's not that dangerous. But the area of the eyes, or for example, when I paint the hair, I don't. That's why I do my best to do in one layer all dark places, especially because then it's quite hard to continue to work. Of course, it's possible, but with a lot of efforts. And now let's continue to paint her hair using Van Dyke Brown, a bit of wisteria, a bit of orange. And her hair is quite dark, even the light part of the hair.
And is this where we plan to pause?
Oh yes, just a moment. I forgot. Sorry, I was totally in the process.
Yes, you're zoomed in now.
Just a moment. I will make everything soft, and we can talk again. Just a moment. Sorry. Okay, let's talk.
And during this time, we have received lots and lots of questions, but because if Anna were to speak and answer all of them along the way, we would have spent another 30 minutes probably on this piece. So therefore, we have saved them to the Q&A part at the very end of the workshop. So now when you have hopefully gotten some inspiration, and if you are painting, we now give you some time to catch up because, of course, it most likely takes a bit longer for those of us who are not Anna. And we will continue in a bit. Before that, we want to talk about how you can learn even more about how to achieve realism in portraits. There are several different aspects of portraiture that we need to focus in on. For instance, we have the drawing part, we have different angles. There are several steps that we will talk about right now. And the first step, Anna, that I'm going to hand over to you is the step basic facial features. So focusing on the eyes. And this is also one of the steps that is included in the course that we are launching. And here you focus on, you have an eye that you have drawn and that you teach drawing this in several different angles. Why did you choose to have this as the first step of the portrait journey, Anna?
Because I think they say that the eyes are like a mirror of the soul, and if you succeed with the eyes, so actually the portrait is already successful. So that's why I paid so much attention to this area to show the very important tips: how to paint the eyes, how to make it vivid, how to make it alive, and uh, what forms should we, what tips should we follow to make it look natural.
And then when we have covered the eyes, which is like the main thing to capture the essence of that person, we focus on some other aspects, which is also very important for the character. It's the nose and being able to draw and paint that in several different angles. So from the front and three-quarter and in profile, and also the mouth. Why did you choose to have that as a preparational part of the portrait journey?
Because usually we paint really different angles of the face, and it's not always like this when everything is quite obvious. And the form of the lips and of nose can be very different, because some people have, very thin lips, or some push up lips, or for example long nose or very short nose, and so on. But there are some tips that can help you to manage it in all different angles that, I don't know, we can imagine.
And another point that I think is so valuable is that we, in these preparational facial feature lessons, we watch both the contour lines but also the shading and how to create that sense of shape and form and volume, which is so crucial to your technique. As you said, that is crucial to create realistic portraits. And once we have done that, we step into painting a girl in profile. And why would you say that profile is a good starting place for portrait painting?
Because it has just one side.
Yeah.
It's the easiest one. You have just one eye, one eyebrow, one lip angle, and so on. That's why I start always with the profile stuff. And Then I think we have straight side, and then semi. I don't know how to call it.
3/4.
Yeah. Because this one is the hardest one because we have double subjects and in a very different angles because the part that is closer to us looks different from the part that looks farther from us.
And we have some beautiful colors in this one. We have this wine red background and this fair-skinned beautiful lady and this beautiful hair, very romantic. And then we move on to something which is romantic but in a more dramatic way. And in a few minutes, we will continue the second practice part where we will complete and watch Anna at least complete her painting. Before that, let's talk about this ginger-haired girl, which has this challenging angle and some vibrant red, orange, ginger hair with a blue. I don't know if that is a yes, old school, very nice dress, and almost black. We have a background that goes from light to really, really dark. Could you share some aspects of what you loved about that reference and what made you want to teach painting this specific portrait?
On this specific portrait, we have at first we have a really interesting tone of the skin because red-haired people have very pale skin, and we need to compare it with each other, and then we have a quite her emotions, very modest smile, and her position is also very struggling to paint because if you make the emotions more obvious, so they will change her face features. And there I show the tips how to make it really soft, to create soft smile, soft expression of the face, and so on. And one more thing is to compare her hair with her dress because they have different structure and they have different tones, very orange and warm one, and at the same time the dress that emphasizes the tone of her skin and of her hair. That so they all interact with each other.
I also really appreciate how beautiful it is when we have certain parts of an image which have very hard edges, such as when the bright skin meets the dark shaded part of the hair, and then instead we have in around the shoulders we have this soft transition between the hair and the clothes. So the clothes and the background are just some places melting into one another in this magical watercolory way. And I love how you choose your technique depending on where we need it to be in hard edge, and then also how to use the soft edges to our advantage because watercolor is so amazing because we can do that with the wet into wet technique. So I think that's really, really beautiful. And then we move to an image of a smiling girl that looks much more modern because this is not like one of these early
Yeah,
1900s.
that's true.
And also a different skin color, skin tone. It looks like there is some lifting potentially from the two hair pieces of the hair. It looks like it's very important to get the light and the darks in on the right places on this one. Could you share why you chose this one and what we can learn from this beautiful girl?
Yeah, I like bright people, and I think this girl is amazing with her skin tone that is so bright, so vivid, and her hair actually is also very unique. And we don't paint. Or at least me, I don't paint often such a style of hair. And here I wanted to show how to paint some subjects such her hairstyle that comes through her face, through her skin tone, and how to make them look amazing with each other.
Mm. Yeah, and it looks so natural. It looks so effortless. Like you have this, there's a sense of effortlessness in the finished piece. It looks like it was very simple to do for you, which is very impressive. It's beautiful. And then we have the final part of this process, which is Lady in a Hat. This is the front facing one, but with lots of added details, lots of different parts of this beautiful piece. Why did you choose this one? You've already shared some of the passion for this type of portraiture and this type of styling. Uh, would you like to share your process a little bit and what we can learn from this specific subject?
Here, I wanted to show the way the average light works and how we can express the light tones with the help of this light. Because it's when the light doesn't have any contrast, like here, actually, it's the most difficult thing to paint. And another thing, I wanted to show how the decorations, such as her hairstyle, such as her head, can interact with each other, and how they can add some dynamic to the picture, because this diagonal changes our composition into something really dynamic. So it's also some tip to make the portrait more interesting.
Thank you, and it's such a beautiful end result, and I love the colors, the different colors, they dancing very well together. So thank you for taking us on
Thank you.
that journey. And if you have long dreamed of adding realistic portraits to your collection, feel free to write a plus in the chat. And for those of you who want to take a deep dive into portrait painting in watercolor with award-winning artist Anna Ivanova, then we want to welcome you to Watercolor Portraits from Basics to Advanced. So here are the finished pieces from the course, and this is an overview. We have 7 different lessons, 4 completed paintings, and we also have additional exercises and sketches. This is a lifetime access course, so once you've purchased, you can take a look at this whenever you want. We also have the option of receiving individual written feedback and a certificate of completion. We have several different pricing plans, so let's take a look at them. For everything that we have just shared, we have for the lessons themselves, we have the standard plan. For the premium plan, we also have individual written feedback on the finished paintings from our professional curator. And the premium pro plan has additional 2 exclusive new live Zoom sessions with Anna Ivanova. These are the regular prices, so $269, $169, and $129. However, today we have an exclusive offer. Now we have, so these are the prices with the discount. So the standard price is $109 and the Premium Pro is $179. And as you can see, there are limited spots for the Premium and Premium Pro plans, so that everyone who receives feedback can get high quality feedback, and so that everyone who joins the live Zoom sessions can have a wonderful VIP exclusive experience. And for those of you who are watching live, for as long as we are here live, there is an additional 10% off that will melt as soon as we wrap up this live experience. So just know that when you choose to join, these are the prices that you will get when you join, if you join us when we're still having this wonderful workshop together. So as you can see, then the Premium Pro jumps to $161 and the standard to $98. And we have a limited number of spots for the Premium and Premium Pro plan, so that the curator can give high quality feedback. The curator is also a professional artist, and also that you have a wonderful experience if you choose the Premium Pro and join the Zoom sessions. This specific price will melt straight after the workshop, so the best offer is while we're still talking. And the button to join is below the screen. So if you exit full screen mode, you can scroll down and click the join the course. And there you can choose the plan that feels best for you. Now we're gonna continue practicing and then we'll tell you more about the bonuses and the features if you join us in the course. But now it's time for me to hand it over to you, Anna, and it's time to continue painting. And that's perfect because now we've had a drying period in advance, or in between, so you can share what do you do if you have a bigger painting and you need to work in several
approaches.
Yeah.
So usually when I have no time to continue right now, I'm just leave it to dry and then come back to it next day. And I waited the same way as I did before. And so the backside first and then the face part, but depends on the subject that I paint and the composition, because usually I plan my work before I begin. So that's why usually I begin from the center of the work. So because if I wet it again and again, so everything I paint can go away. So that's why I need to plan everything to do not touch extra times to the things that I have painted, or I need to choose the paper that let me do it like this. So Hanne Müller watercolor collection is not bad for this technique, but for example, the eyes I can't touch already. The tone, like face tone, is okay. I can cover it with the water again and again. There is no problem. But now I'm going to paint really saturated parts, especially a red one, because to get this super bright red, I need to take the fresh colors exactly from the tubes to get this brightness and freshness and so on. So let's try to make it. Now I'm continue to work with her hair. Let's take Van Dyke brown with a bit of peacock blue and alizarin. Now it's dry. Let's make it a bit wet. And now we need to create really dark tone to make the difference between the light and shadow. So that's why I'm taking the excess in purple, violet, a bit of Van Dyke again. And violet helps us to show the strong sunlight. These violet shadows function very well for this. And again, I make softer just to come here later to continue my work. Now again, adding Van Dyke Brown and a bit of alizarin. And again, a bit of dioxazine. And now a bit of wisteria with a blue-gray. With a bit of raw sienna. And again, a bit of purple gray. And Van Dyke. And now we can see that her face is totally not too dark, because now we have something really darker that emphasizes the tone of her face. So sometimes when we feel that something is wrong, too dark, just add something really darker. So your doubtful place can look different. It's always the game of tones. And now let's paint the flower. But before, I need to clean my palette, because red doesn't like extra colors.
We had a question for someone who asked what you call your technique. Do you call, is it painterly, a painterly style, or is it a realistic style, or how would you call the style that you have?
I call it realistic style.
And then we have another question from Sergey, asked a while back. What is critically important technically, from your opinion, to make sure to reach a level of such realistic portraiture? Is it most important with the portrait, with the paper, the brush, or maybe something else? And I'm not talking about your master experience. What would you say is the most important thing to get right when it comes to materials? And maybe there's something else you want to add to that, Anna.
I think, materials, of course, are important, but for me, the most important thing in realistic painting is academic drawing. This is the key to realism. If you understand the form, how it works, how it interacts with each other, because the face actually it's a lot of different forms. For example, triangle, globe, like a flat surface. Like okay, the forehead is not flat, but more or less if you compare with the eye. So it's a lot of different forms that are unified by one face. So for me, and I'm still studying. Some time to time, once a year at least, I go to study academic drawing every year. If I have time and money, I go twice. I have a very good teacher, but he's very expensive one. Actually, he's a tutor at Artefacto. His name is Ivan Loganov. He's my teacher.
Kudos to both of you. You're both amazing.
And I really like his courses. But I have possibility to come to St. Petersburg and to have it alive. And of course, if I can reach it alive, I go there. If no, of course, online is a perfect thing to follow. So I hope I answered to the question, and let's try to paint the rose.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering these questions. I will be quiet and not ask any questions now for a bit, so that everyone knows that if I don't ask any questions, it's because I want to give Anna the space to focus on her painting for a bit.
Yes, roses are really interesting to paint. And now I'm going. I'm not a botanical artist at all, and usually I paint just the deepest shadow and bright light. And that's all. And I think the big forms can help us to create any flower that I don't know. It's possible. Okay, let's try to paint. So initially we painted the shadow on her face, and we continue to work with the shadows on the flower as well. Now I'm going to separate light and shadow, and then to continue to work with the shadows at first, and then come to the light. Let's show some deep shadows with dioxazine and alizarin. It's like a puzzle, shadow by shadow.
We have a question from Zora. What red is that directly from the tube for the flower?
This is scarlet. This one is alizarin crimson, and the last one is dioxazine purple. No, they are not very special ones. I mean, they are quite usual. But the secret to paint reds is to have a lot of reds, actually, because reds doesn't like to mix with other colors. If you mix it with any brown or blue, so they will lose its intensity. This is a problem with the red colors.
Now we have a question from Carmen. Is the
Mhm.
paper still wet when you're painting the flower? What is the moisture level of the paper right now?
It's more or less wet. Not very, but that's okay. So if the paper is less wet than I expected, so I take more water in my brush. And now again, I need to add some shadows more. And now I'm taking the brightest red that I have, maybe with a bit of opera. And together they can create really super bright red.
I'm gonna ask you something, and you only answer if you have the mental space for it. Otherwise, you can answer it later.
Okay.
We had a wonderful question who said that do you always start with the dark, with the shadow of the face, and now you also started with the shadow part of the rose. Is that how you mostly work? Because it's the opposite of many other watercolor artists who start with the lightest part and move darker and darker. So if you have the mental space to talk about that, you're welcome to do so. But
No,
mainly
it's
focus on
just
painting.
no. It's just because of the light that we have here. Just because of it. I have really different approach. It's not universal one, so it always depends on the picture that I do. So there is no, like a 100% tip that it will always function. So I have a lot of them, and I use them depend on what I'm painting right now. Because at the course, I mean that with the portrait, there is no any subject with super bright light. I think all subjects are with average light. So this one is a bit different, and I even can't say which one is more difficult to paint, because here we need to show the big difference between light and shadow to express this bright sunlight. And at the same time, we have picturesque puzzle, because there is a lot of red, orange, violet, and we need to make them work together, because without these colors there is no sunlight. If you paint this picture with the blue colors, it won't be sunlight, because sunlight is always warm. And I chose this picture just because it's different from everything that I did for my courses. So maybe people who already bought my courses could find something new in this demo exactly. And again, let's, when I'm painting another rose, when I paint another rose, I need to clean my palette one more time, because it's already mixed reds. So it's better to renew the palette. And here I can say that good brands of red really matter. So I use only this red are by Core, and orange one as well. And the dioxazine purple is also by Core. I really adore this brand. Super bright, super high quality of the pigments. But the price is not nice, but okay, I can survive. Everything good, always costs a lot. Okay, let's paint another flower, but there is also one thing that can kill this flower. For example, if you want to make more details or make it darker, so second layer will kill the brightness and saturation of the colors. This is a problem when you paint with the reds. That's why actually I have them a lot, different tones, light, dark, middle ones, or for example warm, cold, like I don't know, 10 or maybe more of red colors. So when I paint really picturesque red picture, I have a lot of different reds. And mostly I have Sennelier and Core. Both of them I use to paint reds. And this flower is more, is brighter. So I'm going to use this opera and
Anna, there's a droplet on the forehead. Do you need to fix that?
no, it's dry, so
It works. Ah, good.
No, when it's dry, there is no problem. The problem when it's only going to be dry. This is disaster. Always some kind of heart attack. I hate when it happens because I need to, repaint everything. And a few dark spots, and I will finish our flower. And again, purple, scarlet, and a bit of alizarin. And I didn't decide what to do with the background because I don't like this green light there. So let's make it maybe cold and then come down and continue with her scarf. Now I need to find the right color and actually work with background is always struggling because I never know how it goes, but we need to emphasize the light uh, on her head and emphasize the light on the flowers. So it should be really dark tone. Let's create something like this. Let's mix with a bit, that was a ultramarine deep, a bit of sepia. And it should be cold tone because we have really warm portrait. So we can emphasize it not only with the darkness, but with the cold tones as well. Okay, let's try to make it. Yeah, okay. It can be interesting. Maybe we can add some greens. But the background can be really different. We don't need to make it the average one. We can play with it. But now we can see how shines her face. And let's see if we need really dark scarf. And let's try. Because the scarf doesn't have any light, only shadow. Again, let's come back to our precious reds. One alizarin and scarlet. Not too dark.
We have a question from El Mari who writes, I've heard that core watercolors does not always mix with or work with other brands because of the binders. Apparently some colors are worse than others. Anna is obviously using it together, but has she experienced any problems with some colors? Do you recognize any of that?
No, I have core, Mijello, and Sennelier. And now some of them and Xinhan, but Xinhan just two colors. And they work with each other perfectly. I don't know. I didn't meet any problems, and I'm very happy with my colors. At least you can see the saturation of the colors, the transparency. I don't know. One of the best for me. My combination. I mean the brands that I chose. Actually, I chose them not for their brands, but for the colors. Each of them are very special for me, and I was looking for them so many years, and I'm really happy. I think I even can stop to search something else in the palette because I'm really happy with the colors that I already have. But core has a different medium. I don't remember the name. Aquazol. The name is Aquazol. Yes, it's artificial, but now I think almost all brands use some artificial medium to, to make their colors be brighter and so on. Now I'm going to make the neck a bit darker. And again, just a little bit of fun neck brown to make the neck a bit darker. And again, a bit of red, just to, yeah, and earrings as well. Just a moment. I forgot about that. And the earrings. Wait. Wait. So something like this.
Wonderful. That was fascinating to watch. We have a question from Linda. How would you soften her eyes? And we had another question. Is it possible to lift highlights if we miss some highlights, for instance, in the eyes?
Yes, you can lift it when it's not that bright like she has. You just can wash with the usual uh, brush. But for example, when it's super bright, like like a white on the under sunshine, just use titanium white or Chinese white. There is no problem.
Wonderful. Would you say that you are finished, or do you want to add anything more?
No, I'm finishing.
Well done! You
Thank
did
you.
it!
Yes, I'm going to show it closer.
We have comments from Stoyanka saying writing amazing, Grain writing beautiful, AT writing that's an amazing demo, and lovely highlights in her red bow. So, and very impressive to do this under these circumstances where you have to stop and talk, stop and talk all of the time. How is this different from when you teach in the course or when you paint by yourself? Because I can imagine that some things take longer now because we talk in the middle of the process than when you get to choose what you talk about. Would you say that there's a difference, or is it very similar?
More or less the similar. Actually, yes, my process is not very fast. I don't know if this one is fast, so it's okay. But usually I work really longer with with more precision, with more attention, and so on and so on. So yes, this is some kind of sketch actually.
Ah, we have congratulations, wonderful work from Andy.
Thank
They're
you.
writing beautiful portrait, Anna. Stoyanka writes, thank you, Anna, and Hannah for the wonderful session. Lenny writing, bravo. 80 writing, thank you so much, Anna. And I think that's for my name is Hannah. 80. Fanny says, thank you. It's so
For both of
intense.
us.
And Michelle writes, bravo. Linda, absolutely amazing. I'm so intimidated. What are your thoughts on that comment? Feeling intimidated instead of inspired.
That's what I feel when I go to the workshops of Ivan Loganov.
Yeah,
Okay.
that means you're stretching. It means you're stretching.
Yeah. No, everything is fine.
It's just paper.
That's just paper. Yeah.
Aiko writes, thank you for so many tips. Lovely. Mira writing, super brava. Sushi Smitanat, spellbound and heart. Audrey writes, fantastic. Fuyo writes, such a wonderful portrait. Love the lovely difference of bright light and shades in this girl, on this girl. Thank you so much. AT, super impressive. Linda, beautifully done. Loving your technique. Irene writing, I assume there will be a recording. It will be a short, a couple of days access, so it will be limited access. Lend, great, thank you. Ivan, thank you. Anna, very well explained throughout. Lovely portrait. Caroline says thank you for this wonderful demo. Such a beautiful portrait. Jackie says thank you so much, Anna and Hannah. Nadine writes such a beautiful demo, an adorable girl, very talented. Angela writes thank you so much, so inspiring, amazing. Thank you, beautifully rendered. Very grateful for your teaching. Love the painting. Thank you. Wow, amazing. Thank you. Oh, so many
Thanks a
wonderful
lot, guys.
comments in the chat. Thank you. It's very impressive. Thank you so much from Lucia. Donna signed up for 2 courses. Wonderful. I've also seen several people have already joined us. So that's wonderful. You get to continue this journey. And Monique says, thank you. It is beautiful. Looking forward to starting my course. And Kain, thank you so much, Anna and Hannah. May I suggest? Oh, it would be helpful with a workshop on specifically your technique. Yeah, that would be helpful. Christy says, amazing. Sounds so effortless. Thank you so much. Grazie. So many thank yous. inspiring and educational. You did it perfectly. So yay!
Thanks, everybody. I
And
did my
beautiful.
best.
Rosario writes, beautiful. It seems impossible to me. I think that probably the drawing part is very important if we want to feel that we know what to do. Because if we both have the watercolor technique and the color mixing and the drawing, if all of them feel super challenging, it might be a bit much. What are your thoughts on that?
Of course, but the most important is desire. If you really want to get something, you will do it.
Yeah,
No
that's
matter
amazing.
what.
Yes, that's true. That was a very good point. And if you painted with us, please share what you found difficult or what you learned, how your experience was. And we're gonna briefly just mention some main problems that artists might face when painting portraits. The first one is making the right proportions and symmetry of the face, just as Anna has shared, the actual drawing, and then mixing the suitable skin tone, and then showing realistic emotion and face expression, and then getting resemblance, expressing the individuality of the model, and then painting the light and shadows correctly, which is crucial for creating that sense of volume, and which is also, yeah, this number 6, achieving creating that sense of volume. And then we have connecting the face and the background harmoniously. So there are lots of different things, but we can learn from people, and we can always learn things that we didn't know before. So if there's something you haven't learned yet, make sure to remember that you can learn it when you put the passion and the time into it. So if you want to stretch your comfort zone and reach that next level of portrait painting, feel super welcome to join the course Watercolor Portraits from Basics to Advanced, guided by award-winning artist Anna Ivanova. Here is some examples of one of our amazing students at Artefacto, Nicoleta, who writes, Anna influenced me a lot artistically. Her measuring and putting color on paper suits me perfectly. And here we can see how Nicoleta painted before, and then some of her amazing ballet paintings from one of Anna's courses. And here are some other examples from Anna's courses. So we can see that, yes, we can do so much more than we think when we get the right guidance. So here's an overview again, if you are curious and you might want to join the course. We have the basic facial features of the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the girl in proportion, a girl with ginger hair, and a smiling girl. And I also had a question, Anna. How much time do you spend on talking about drawing proportions and all of this? Is that part of this, or just a little bit a part of this? What would you say?
No, it's not that big part of the course, but it's one of the most important things. These things usually people think they are not important. Yes, they are tiny, maybe they are annoying and boring and all of this. Yes, I agree. I also don't like this part. But just have a look at it, because it explains a lot. So they are really simple but very important. Like, I don't know, every object, every face feature, it's the same.
Thank you for that. And there are several different elements and stages of a watercolor artist's journey. We have the basic technique, the control of the water and the pigment. We have the colors theory, that we need to mix the right colors. We have the composition and perspective, or in this case, the proportions that are required to get that foundation that we can paint upon. And then we have exploring different subjects and mastering different levels of realism or non-realism, depending on what you choose. And if you want to be able to paint realistically, then that requires its own focus. And then the main stage, the main goal, is to developing confidence as an artist, where you feel that you get to choose, where you feel free to express yourself, where you feel that you can create pieces of art that you are proud of. And we have a way for you if you want to develop in even more in these different stages. When you choose the Premium Pro plan, you will also be able to you will also join 1 month of a wonderful watercolor community which is called Artefacto Family 3. You will have 1 month access to that membership from May 1st. So all throughout May, as a tandem deep dive into watercolor, including even more ways of painting portraits in watercolor, that is specifically part of the Premium Pro plan. So first and foremost, you join watercolor portraits from basics to advanced, the Premium Pro plan. And then at May 1st, you will also get 1 month access to Artefacto Family 3. And let's talk about what that is. So perhaps you have that feeling that you see these beautiful subjects, but you wonder, how do I paint this? You might have this feeling that you want to have a community where you get to share your ideas and your paintings and provide feedback to others and receive feedback from your friends. And if so, you're welcome to, of course, join the Premium Pro plan and get a taste of this community. And if you feel like you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. This is a supportive space where you can grow with confidence, express yourself freely, give and receive encouragement, and feel that you are really a watercolor artist in a wonderful watercolors community. So it's a club, it's a program, it's a membership where you get to progress at your own pace, follow your unique creative path, and explore different styles from different masters, because each month explores a different theme with exclusive painting sessions on Zoom live, curated led Zoom sessions where you dive into specific aspects of that specific theme, and you have access to other learning teaching materials as well, and club activities. So for instance, we have the painting Zoom sessions where a specific expert of the month comes in and teaches their expertise. And there are already several months recorded of material that you get to take part of when you join this month in May. And we also have the wonderful curated led Zoom sessions with our beautiful watercolor artists who are also professional artists, who are also curators, with Zoom sessions where you get personalized guidance as well as feedback. And there's a club library, and you also have recordings of the open workshops conducted through the month, and a beautiful, supportive, creative community where people support each other, cheer each other on, give each other ideas and tips. And right now, we have grown from just starting in December to growing to 247 members of artists who paint together and just explore and develop their skills in watercolor. And here are some examples of paintings that we have explored already that you get to take part of during this May experience. And to add another level of possibility and a different angle on portrait painting, you will also get to hang out with Stan Miller himself, who is world renowned for his style when it comes to portraiture. He has over 40 years as a watercolor artist and educator, signature member of prestigious art societies, focuses on light, mood, and storytelling. And he will be sharing his expertise and his angle on watercolor painting during May. So here are some examples, and we can see that that's a completely different approach, but also beautiful, because we want you to feel that you have all of the inspiration that you want and need to find your voice. So that is what's included in the Premium Pro plan. So you will have that May experience, that month of May. And there will also be Articoins in all of these plans, which is a virtual internal currency that you can use to purchase product from our special store called Artistore. And we will also just briefly mention that there are these 2 exclusive new Zoom sessions with Anna, which are included in the Premium Pro plan, where you get to create 2 paintings, explore additional topics and techniques, and receive answers to questions that pop up along the way. Is there anything, Anna, that you want to share about having a Zoom experience with you? What is the difference and the value of that live experience?
Life experience, I don't know. I think online experience is more, I would say, worldwide. So many people from so different countries. came today to attend my online workshop. It was very, how to say, responsible for me. So I really did my best. I wanted to show my art, and I would, of course, I think my big aim in this life is to inspire people as well, because I think, I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm self-taught artist. I don't have a special education. That's why I always say that about, if you really wish to get something, you will get it, no matter what. That's just a question of patience and experience. Of course, without work, there is unfortunately nothing, no miracle. But look at me, 10 years ago, I went from my job, and I'm really happy to be an artist. Of course,
Wonderful.
it cost me a lot. I mean, a lot of hours of work and anxiety, and because nobody promised you anything. But still, I'm happy, much more happier than at my job.
Thank you for those inspirational words.
So
And
I think everybody can do it. Just good
wonderful.
luck.
We have so many questions, and in a couple of minutes we will have a short Q&A session. We have a couple of things that we're gonna just briefly talk about before that. If you're still here live, then these are the prices if you jump on the course. And in the Premium Pro, as we've just shared, you will also get 1 month access to Artefacto Family, the wonderful club with lots of special things. So now you know what these prices mean even more. And they are only active during the workshop. Afterwards, they will jump up to these prices. And we have a limited number of spots, so hopefully you will get a spot if that's what your heart desires. And let's take a look at how it's all structured. First and foremost, the lessons that we have seen of the girls, the portraits, they are pre-recorded, and you have access to them on the course platform as long as you have internet connection from wherever you are and whenever. There is a certificate of completion for the Premium as well as the Premium Pro plan when you have completed the course. There's a wonderful WhatsApp community for those of you who want that extra support and that extra sense of being part of a group. We also have the individual written feedback for the Premium as well as the Premium Pro plan on the final paintings plus on a creative task. And they are held by a wonderful professional watercolor artist who has formal education in fine art and experience, also years of experience and teaching experience. So that's a wonderful added chance for those of you who want that support and accountability. And here's what you will paint during this course. And yeah, you get to take part of this from wherever you are, the comfort of your own home, whenever you have the time, and be part of this beautiful community. So you join by clicking the button below the screen, which says join the course. And let's just take a quick look at how you actually order the course. If you are new to Artefacto and haven't tried this in advance in the past. So here is the course site where you can read more about everything and just get an overview of that. So you know what's included. And then we have the 3 different pricing plans. And you get to choose the one that is the right fit for you. And then you fill in your name, your email, and your phone number, and then you click proceed to payment. And as you can see, there's also this automatic change if you are doing this in a live, while we're still live. And then you can choose to pay via bank card or via PayPal, and it's a secure payment. We don't get any access to any information. So you just click whichever one you like and click continue. And after that, you just fill in your information. And once you have purchased the course, you will get an email with access to it straight away. So you can get started right now. You can get started whenever you want. We also have a guarantee. So if after a couple of weeks, after a couple of lessons, you realize that this is not something that will get you the results that you want, then just write us an email and you will get your money back. So please share your biggest takeaways, the highlights from today's workshop that you really don't want to forget, that you're like, I really want to remember this, so that we just support each other in remembering what is the most important and valuable thing for us. And our mission at Artefacto is to provide you with a fast track to achieving the skills and the confidence that you want to be able to paint more freely and more confidently. And we also know from experience at Artefacto, but also from research, that painting brings happiness and fights stress, because there has been studies made that creating art stimulates the release of dopamine, and 4 to 5 minutes of painting a day reduces the level of cortisol by 75%. So giving us time for this can be one of
That's why I left my job.
Exactly. This could be the best gift that we
I
can
had
give
too
to
much
ourselves.
stress.
It's it was worth the stress of not knowing what.
It was best at home.
It was worth it. We have Raquel says the most important thing is shadows. And thank you so much. Lots of thank yous in the chat. Beautiful. Marlene is asking how to make the girl look like a little girl and not an older woman. And that was something a couple of people wrote, that their version looked older. What are the reasons for that? What could be the reasons for that?
We should avoid sharp shapes, because children has really round faces, round features, round emotions. So of course they have much more mimics. But if we paint every single one, so we will get an old man actually in the end. So the wet technique helps to make it, because everything you put, all brush strokes, they're very soft. And then you can choose which one you can make more exact, and which one you just can lose.
So keeping it round and
Round and soft.
Round
Yes.
and soft. Wonderful. Few's biggest takeaway is that you can start from light value tone as well as from the darkest values and tone in watercolor. I always think I have to start from light value. Thanks so much. And I think that's a very nice comment, that we get to see that there are several ways of doing things.
Yeah, I think that art is quite, different, and the word must is not for art.
Yeah, good point. And it can always be like, you must do this if you want to achieve exactly this thing, but you don't have to achieve exactly that thing. You can do it a completely different way.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends. It always depends. It's not mathematics,
Yes, true, so true. We had a question from Sergey, which I thought was very interesting. It is, Anna, what level of graphic details do you usually do in the sketch? Because in this sketch, you shared that where the darks were, there were quite a lot of details.
Very general ones. It's just because, the face doesn't have so many petals like a rose.
No.
And just not to be confused in the rows. So that's why, I made some pencil sketch, and that's all.
And usually, how much detail would you say that you use?
Not many, just the eyes, the level of the nose, the level of the lips, because usually I cover all face. It doesn't matter, face or any subject, whatever. I cover it all with first wash. And usually I don't see too much there.
Yeah, because
so it's helpless to draw many details, just the main ones.
And we had a question from Lori. Does the surface under the paper make a difference in how long the paper stays wet?
Yes, of course. If you wet just the face surface, so it dries much faster and it makes wavy.
Yeah, but the question was also what you have, the board you have. If
the board, yes. Mine is waterproof, of course.
Yeah.
It should be plastic or glass or plastic glass, something like this.
And we had also a question from someone living in a warm country. Does this technique work for over 30 Celsius degrees? So when it's warm?
Once I spent a summer in Spain and it was disaster. didn't work at all.
So we need
Now,
to work with much smaller parts, or what is
yes,
the solution?
yes, no, yeah, this is like that because now in Madrid it's like +6 in the morning. So in my native city, I'm from Russia, it's warmer than here.
Ah, that's so funny.
Look at me,
Completely upside down.
yeah, but this is the perfect weather to paint big watercolors
Yeah,
because now
yeah.
I'm painting to watercolors like 1 meter, no, 1 meter to 80,
Perfect.
and it's perfect. It's cold, wet, nothing is drying. I love Spain.
And do you always wet the entire front and the entire back? Always, 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 or only when you paint bigger parts?
No, always, always. All paper is wet, totally wet. Even if I paint a tiny detail, the paper should be wet. All.
Okay, to avoid
Yeah,
buckling.
yeah, because even the color, how to say it? Even the reaction of the color with the paper is different when the paper is dry or paper is wet. So I prefer to work the same way always, just to
Okay.
avoid these differences.
And if you have already painted the eyes and they're pretty dark, and you're going over with a second wash of water because you want to increase some dark, some shadows, can you do that? Are you very like careful not to move the darks, or how do you approach that when you work in several layers if you have to do that?
The eyes will be the final detail in this case.
So you will not go over them with water,
Mhm,
basically. So if it's not something super dark, don't go over it with water.
Yeah.
Only if it's like skin and but
Only,
not
yeah,
part of the hair,
first
not
the
too dark.
skin tone, big forms, and only in the end all details.
Perfect. That was very good advice, I think, because I think that people can easily otherwise have these smudgy eyes and like smoky eyes, which is not perfect for a little girl. Do you always start from object, or sometimes do you start with the background? What are your like go-to strategies when do you paint the background?
When I paint landscapes, the first thing that I paint it's the background, and then I come closer, closer, closer. But when I paint people or animals, for me it's very important to paint the faces, and I pay so much attention to it, and then I just don't care,
Okay.
like I did it today.
Yeah, perfect. So when the main subject
Fast and
is
furious.
in the front, you start in the front, and the main point of the painting is the landscape, you start in the back. Ah, very clear advice.
Thank you.
Let me see. We had another question. You have said Hanemule, you have said Sennelier. We had a question from the smoothness perspective. Do you know, have you tried Bao Hong, or do you have any other?
No, Bao Hong S8, more or less. I like it. I mean, of course, it's a bit harder. How to say it? It's more tense than Hanemule watercolor or Sennelier because they are like tissue. They are like clothes. When it's wet, it's very similar to just. To these materials, and Bao Hong is more tense. It's
Harder surface.
yes, harder surface.
Okay, thank you for that. And yes, we have actually answered lots of them, but we have a question from Zora. Do you avoid granulating colors when painting faces? To avoid.
Actually, in the technique that I usually work, granulation doesn't work at all. So I can use granulating colors, for example, raw sienna, lemon yellow, and blue gray. They are granulating.
But you're
But
not working with cerulean or ultramarine?
no, I mean that if you don't have a big water wash done before, so it doesn't work like this. In my technique, even if the color granulates,
It will not be very
it doesn't
granular.
show. Yes, it doesn't show because I don't use too much water.
Yeah, very good point. So if you use the same color in the background, it might granulate more than in the face.
Yes, yeah, exactly. If for example, I cover all the face with the water and then I put a lot of pigments, of course it granulates.
Yes.
It just functions another way.
And now I just realized we have spent 2 hours and 35 minutes together. So even though we didn't go through all the questions, I want to thank you for asking those questions. I hope you still got value from these 2.5 hours of workshop, of learning from Anna. And let me just see if there's anything in the chat that I just, thank you from Margaret, thanks from Audrey. Ingeborg says, danke vielmals, so interessant. Kina says, thank you so very much for sharing your artistic knowledge and how-tos for creating portraits. And yes, Nadine, we did answer that complete. And Carmen, thank you so much for a lovely session. It was one of the most interesting sessions I have attended. So of course, I purchased the course. Oh, congratulations to you, Carmen. And now just huge thank yous, Anna, for sharing so much.
You're welcome. Invite me again.
And what are your final thoughts to someone who feels like, wow, this looks fun, but also challenging? What is some emotional tips for preparing ourselves for this challenging but also rewarding process of painting portraits?
Now, my point of view is always, oh, difficult. Okay, I mean.
That's a perfect...
I like challenges, you know. My Everest, it's not conquisted yet, so.
I love that. Is it challenging? I'm in. Perfect advice for all of us. That's how we grow. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
So huge thanks to everyone who was here, and huge thanks to you, Anna, for sharing so generously and so much, and also for just showing that it's possible to paint in this style that you shared with us today.
Thanks, everybody. It was nice.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.